Can be hard when you grow up. People fill you with doubt. You start thinking about what you're gonna do now. And it's do or die, gotta make it count. So lose your worries, let your problems go on until my whole body burns out. I ain't never gonna slow down. I ain't never gonna slow down.
Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the art of proactivity. Now, you might be asking, well, what does proactivity mean? Well, proactivity is just a phrase to represent proactive. Let's be proactive. You might have heard this a lot when you were younger, but not so much as when you're an adult. Maybe now, right? Because you are an adult. What I will say is that proactivity is something that we gradually fall from. We're like, you know what? We naturally know what we have to do and we do it, but we do it on our own accord. So we are not necessarily proactive at every moment in our life. We are just kind of doing what is necessary. So think of the bare minimum. The bare minimum for most people, right? Most adults, is they have to work some type of job, a 9 to 5 maybe, to make ends meet, to live the lifestyle that they want to live. If they want to live in a 1-bedroom, it's going to be a different lifestyle, right? If they want to live in a big mansion, it's going to be a different lifestyle because they're going to need more income. Now, if they want to get to that lifestyle from a 1-bedroom to a mansion, they have to change their habits. They have to change the systems that they have created for themselves. And this is more so of if it's by, circumstance and not by choice, because you can afford a mansion and live in a 1-bedroom and be perfectly content. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who want it, but they can't get it. We're going to be learning how to be proactive and how it can help you reach the dreams and the potentials and the goals that you have set for yourself. So let's take a look at my most recent blog that's going to be giving us some guidance in how to be more proactive in our day. All right, everyone. As usual, if you're new to the podcast or new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and to share this audio and or video to help build a community of like-minded individuals who are motivated for change in their life. And today we're going to be looking at the art of proactivity. It is my most recent blog. And in this article, we are going to be looking at really quick. We're going to be focused on 3 points today. And the art of proactivity is going to be number 1, what is proactivity? We're going to be learning about that again and how it can be implemented. 2, setting goals and keeping the momentum. 3, identifying when you are productive and when you are not. These 3 are going to be our guideposts for today, because without a guidepost, sometimes we can go on a whole tangent of what we must do, what we can do. There's going to be multiple flowcharts that we can go down. And the longer the episode, the more flowcharts we go. So some episodes are going to be, your 25-minute type episodes, and some episodes are going to be like 50 minutes. And I'm talking about just me talking. The difference is we go through more flows, and the more flows we go, the longer the episode. So sometimes a flow is going to be about a 25-minute flow, or it can be a 50-minute flow. It could be an hour-and-a-half flow. I had a lot of, if you go back to the first episodes of Coaching in Session, hour-long episodes, because the flow was there. We're trying to catch everyone up, right? But sometimes we are going to be doing it in a more palatable type of thing. So today is going to be a palatable episode, and we're going to be having a flow that's going to be short, setting us up probably for the next episode, which is going to be a long flow. This right here, again, is that push and pull for mindset that we so necessarily need. Taking a look at these things, right? What is proactivity? Now, we talked about it. It's the habit of taking future action, right? So if we are in a situation where we can do something ahead of time, rather than waiting for the due date, we become proactive in that act. Well, what is an example of being proactive, right? The examples that I give in here are about painting, because typically if you want to paint, and let's say your walls are purple and you need to put a primer, the purple is still going to probably show after you have already painted 1 coat of the primer. You might have to do 2 coats of primer. And when you put on 1 coat of primer, you just can't say, okay, I did 1 coat of primer, I rolled my brush over it once, I'm going to roll over it again. The paint has to dry first. So you might say, well, I'm waiting for the paint to dry. and you're not being proactive because the only thing you want to do is to paint the room. And the new color you want to paint the room is blue. So you want to paint the room blue, and it's currently purple. And you need to put several primer coats up, but it takes time for the paint to dry. Sometimes it can take a day. Depending on your environment, it can take longer. What we have to do during this time is not just simply look at the paint and go, waiting for the paint to dry. This is so much fun. Being proactive is not so much of doing something different only. Because I can be proactive and say, well, the paint is drying. Let me go sit on the sofa. Let me go on my smartphone. That is not being proactive. Being proactive is doing something that's going to make your life better than what it is. Meaning you are doing something that is essential. Being on your phone is not essential, people. Okay? Now, if you're going through emails and stuff, now we're getting there, right? If you're going through TikToks and stuff like that for no meaning, now we're looking at wasting time. Maybe even procrastinating. What I will say is that the art of learning when you're proactive and when you're not being proactive is going to set you apart from everyone, from the high achievers, from the low achievers. You need to be a person who's more proactive. So the paint's drying now, right? We're getting back to the story. The paint is drying. We're trying to be proactive. What do? Well, we have to figure out if I want to do something. I have to figure out what my next step is. I need to figure out the map of my life. And maybe the map of my life is going to be, I'm going to be figuring out this is something that I need to do. This is something I know I need to do. So the paint's drying. I'm going to be proactive. I know I need to go to the grocery store. I might not want to go to the grocery store. I might want to go on my phone, but I'm going to be proactive today. I'm going to go to the grocery store and get food, and I'm going to cook before I get hungry. Okay? We're being proactive. Now, it doesn't have to be that. You know your boss is going to be asking for the documents for the presentation. You go and you give your boss the presentation documents before your boss asks you. You're being proactive. The art of being proactive is doing things before they're necessary. Setting goals, same thing. Setting goals is just going to be looking at, we focus to understand what we need to do. What is the goal? What is the purpose? We all have goals, right? Maybe the goal is to retire early. Well, you're not going to be able to retire early if you're spending all your money. Okay? That means we need to be using the money that might be extra right now and putting it toward retirement. Now, I'm not saying that we need to give all our money to retirement. We should be focusing on investing, but we have that mindset of our goal is retirement. Let's set ourselves up to retire. Then our last one, right? We identify if we're being proactive or not. You have to ask yourself the simple question, the most powerful question. Is this something meaningful? Is this something that's worth it? Is this something that's going to elevate me? And if the answer is no, you're probably not being proactive. So that means you need to figure out how to be more proactive in your day, how you need to be more efficient. And today, this is what we're going to be talking about. Read this blog. It's going to be giving you all the tricks and all the nuances. It's a tune-up series. So that means, again, tune-up series are going to be those blogs and those articles where you have to have a strong mindset already. If you don't have a strong mindset, you still can read it. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to limit you from not reading this blog. But what I'm saying is it's going to be more difficult for you to take these actions to be proactive because your mindset is kind of already not really in a strong place. So you need to have a strong mindset for this to be effective. Because again, when you have a choice of ice cream or a choice of a salad, or if you have a choice to sit down and watch a movie or to get to work, sometimes you might choose the former and maybe you choose the ice cream, maybe you choose the movie, or maybe you choose the pizza, the things that might not be the best for us. So we do the things that are going to be the best for us. We do the things that are going to be the future necessities. We do the things early because we understand if we can get ahead of the game, we're going to be ahead of the crowd. So let's start to break all of this down and then begin to piece this together so we can be more proactive in our day. So I always love to go into a different direction than the blog when I'm speaking. However, we do have our talking points today that we will be following. And again, those talking points are number 1, what is proactivity and how it can be implemented. 2, setting goals and keeping the momentum. 3, identifying where you are productive and not. So let's start to look at 1 again. So we talked about what proactivity is And then we talked about how it can be implemented briefly. Now we're going to make it a certain bet, right? How can you start to be more proactive? And the best way to be proactive is to understand when you need to move and when you need to stay. Sometimes you need to stay. Sometimes you need to move. You need to be able to differentiate between the two. When you wake up in the morning, you have a choice to pick up your phone, to get out of bed, to stay in bed, to be late to work, to dream again, go back to sleep, right? We have all of those choices. Which one is going to be the best for you? Now, maybe you don't have any obligations that day. And maybe you have been going 100%, and you're feeling a little burned out. You're still a little tired, maybe. Maybe you decide that you need that sleep, right? It's an executive decision. You say, I need another hour of sleep. Because when I wake up from this hour of sleep, I'm going to feel better. I had a whole bunch of sleep specialists come on the podcast for this reason too, because we talk about getting too much sleep. We're talking about not getting enough sleep. And sometimes we just don't know how much sleep we need. And we might not know that sometimes we sacrifice moments where we're in sleep debt. All right. So sometimes we have to get rid of the debt. We have to pay the debt. And maybe that is going to be an hour that morning. That is going to help us be more proactive later. So we make a choice. What I will say is you have to do things that are meaningful again. Can you implement this in your day? Yeah, you can implement it every single morning. You can look at what are your choices, right? What is the flow? I can almost guarantee you looking at your phone is probably not a good choice. If you need to, see it, if you have kids or something to make sure everything is good, they got to the school or whatever, okay, right? We have responsibilities as parents. But then, do you go to social media? Do you start looking at your email? Probably not a good time to do it. Let's focus our mind. And this is where we journal. We talked about the priority list already. We are going to begin to write down the things that we have to do in our day. How can we begin to implement this proactivity? We write the things that we have to do down. The due dates, they have to be done, right? The hard dates, not the maybe dates, the hard dates. And then we look at the eventual dates. For example, eventually, I know I have to clean my house. I might not have any parties or any guests. So I might say, well, there's no due date for me to clean my house, but I know I have to do it. So there's no hard date there. But I know I need to do it because the house is a mess. We figure out what we need to do. And that's going to be setting our goals, right? Setting our goals and keeping the momentum is going to be a little bit different, right? So we figure out what we need to do. If I'm cleaning my house, right? And let's say I'm going to clean just one room today because I'm maybe busy or I don't feel like doing it, because sometimes when we have the choice to be proactive or not proactive, we don't feel like doing the things that are going to make us proactive because we would rather be not proactive. We would rather just say, you know what? I think I'm going to relax today. This is going to be good. I'm going to go get a brewski. I'm going to go get a drink, a margarita. This is going to be my life right now. I'm going to go savor it. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to go hang out with some friends. I'm going to procrastinate. In a sense, we're just not being proactive. We can do all the things that we have to do, right? And at some point, our list is going to end because we have done everything. Now, you might feel like you haven't done everything, but we prioritize, again, everything that we talk about on the past episodes. It accumulates, and this is why this is a TUS, because it builds on the mindset. We are going to now be focused on looking at not only the goal, but figuring out if that goal is going to be something meaningful, and then how we do and how we complete that goal long term. Because now we might have a goal of, let's not use retirement again, but let's use a goal of buying a house, right? Typically you want to get like 20% down. So you have to figure out what type of house you can afford or what type of house you want. And then you have to figure out how fast you're going to pay off the house. You could do it in 15 years. You're going to do it in 30 years. You get to make that choice, right? What I will say is we have the goal of buying the house. When we buy the house, we have more responsibility. And as I said, the story I want to give now is we have to clean. We have to clean a room. We are now in this beautiful home that we wanted, that we desired, that we earned, right? Yet we become complacent a little bit, right? And then now we have more responsibilities. We know we have to pay the mortgage. We know we have to get a new roof if it's leaking or if there was a bad storm. We know we need new windows if wind is coming through. We know there's certain things that we need to do for the home. We might do them eventually, gradually, maybe as money comes in, cash flow bills or whatever. The simple aspect of cleaning, that's just a regular system that you have in your house, right? You clean once a week, or you clean every other day, or you clean every night. If you have dogs especially, right, you vacuum every day. What you might not do is you might not vacuum every day, and you're like, I need a vacuum. And so you get home from work and you're like, oh man, I gotta clean, I gotta vacuum. All right, I'm gonna vacuum the living room. You decided to be proactive. I'm gonna vacuum the living room instead of sitting on the sofa. Now, how can we go a step further, right? Keeping the momentum, right? Step 2 is not only setting the goal, but keeping the momentum. Well, I already have the vacuum out. Now we're using logic. I already have the vacuum out. I might as well do my bedroom too. You go in your bedroom, you vacuum your bedroom. I already did the living room and my bedroom. I might as well do the kids' room. Vacuum the kids' room, right? If you have kids. If not, maybe you have a guest room or something, right? You vacuum the guest room. Maybe you have an office. Vacuum the office, right? Now you vacuum your whole entire house. How long did that take? Maybe an extra 15, 20 minutes? If that, right? If that. Now you can say, I vacuumed my whole entire house. You were proactive. You didn't just stop when you say you could have stopped, or that you told yourself your goal was just maybe doing the living room. You vacuumed the whole entire house because you're already doing something. You're being proactive. If you are waiting, for example, well, I need to vacuum the house, but my vacuum is broken and I brought it to the vacuum cleaner shop, and I don't know if there's still vacuum cleaner shops, but at one point in time there were. I remember there's one in my town that it was just there, and I don't even know if anyone went because we never brought a vacuum to get repaired, and if a vacuum of ours ever broke, we just got a new one. So I'm not sure how successful they were. I'm sure there was people who would take their vacuums because maybe it was a parents or a mom or whatever, and they're like, oh, we want to keep it in the family. But now a vacuum typically just has a lifespan, and when it's done, get a new one. But we keep the momentum, right? Where we keep doing the thing. But if my vacuum is not available, how can I do the thing? Because my vacuum's in the shop. Yet I want to learn how to be proactive. The goal is still, I need to clean the living room. Well, let me get a broom. Guess what? I don't have a broom. Let me go to my neighbor. Let me borrow a broom. Someone has to have a broom. You can go to the grocery store, get a broom. Being proactive. We decide to be proactive rather than just to say, well, we can't vacuum, we can't clean the house because our vacuum's in the shop. Think of like your car's in the shop, right? This might be a more, plausible one where it could happen to you. Well, I can't go to the grocery store because my car is in the shop and I have to wait all day. So I'm just going to not go grocery shopping because my car is in the shop. Okay. So we can't go grocery shopping. I understand we can be proactive and we can do other things, right? We can do our emails. We can write a book. We can do other things, right? But I want to focus on just the goal that we can't do. I want to be proactive toward that. So I can't go to the grocery store because my car is in the shop, right? Well, yes, you can. You could take the bus. You can take a taxi. You could take a ride sharing service, Lyft, Uber, whatever. You can call a friend, a family member, and have them take you to the grocery store. Do you? I don't know. Will you? You should. Because now we're learning to be more proactive. We're helping the brain be more proactive. And then we get into step 3, right? Identifying when you're being proactive and not. Because you might do the alternative, but you're not being proactive. Just as I said, right? You're being productive still. Right? You drop your car off at the mechanic and you come home and you're productive because you are doing work still. You're not just on your phone or you're, doing some video games or whatever. you are doing something productive, right? You're doing something meaningful, right? Maybe it's a goal or whatever. However, this right here is the difference between proactive and productive. Because if you are productive, you're doing the right thing, right? You're identifying when you're productive and not. Productive and proactive. Productive is saying, I'm doing something that is good, but I'm not giving myself the mindset of proactive. If you're being productive, you are still in a better place than if you are not being productive. But I want you to learn proactivity today. Being productive is easy, right? You just do the things that you know you have to do that day. Going a step above and doing the things that you think you can't do. Ooh, now we're helping the brain do something amazing, right? We're challenging it. We're going to challenge the brain here. What happens when you challenge the brain and you win? You grow. What happens when you lift at the gym and you tear your muscle fibers? They grow when they repair. Our mind is very similar to this. So when we identify the moments when we can't do something, but we can do the alternative that is still helping us complete it, right? We might not be able to sweep the house as good as with a vacuum, right? We might not be able to get as much groceries in the small car that my mom has. We might not be able to get as much work done with me worried about I have to go pick up the car later. There are many things that can be stopping us from reaching the true potential that day. We always have the choice to be more than what we are, to do more than what we can. Think of it as you go the extra mile, right? Maybe you have a job. The job is to just do some data and you did the data, right? But then you also, if you want to be proactive, you did the data, you looked at the competition, you got their data, you got some systems in place of some possible options. And guess what? Now we have a lot more to choose from. Now we are becoming more valuable, not only to the company, but to our day and to what we can do, because we're teaching ourselves what is possible. Some people, they think the bare minimum is good enough. But I'm telling you, if you can learn how to be proactive, the bare minimum, I'm not going to say never becomes good enough, right? Because some days bare minimum is going to be what you can do. But what I will say is the minimum versus what you do after is going to help you grow. And think of it as like homeostasis. And eventually we try to keep elevating our state of homeostasis until it's at a good point, even though it's where we are. How we feel is going to be really, really good versus then if we just kind of stay there at that bare minimum. Think of the line in the sand again. The bare minimum might be right by, depression or like bankruptcy. It could be not the best place, right? Some people are just living in survival mindsets. And if they are living in those survival mindsets, how can they be proactive? How can they be abundant? And this is, again, why this is a TUS. Because in this TUS, the art of proactivity, we not only talk about what is proactivity, how to set those goals and keep the momentum, and then to identify the difference between productive and being proactive, and then identify when you're productive. Because when you are being productive, you have to ask yourself, are you doing something that is also going to be including proactivity? Because you can be productive and paint the house at that moment, right? So you identified, I am productive. I have just painted the house. Are you being proactive in doing the next step? Most people, when they get to this spot, they're going to be stuck at, I identified as being productive because I did something good and something big in my day. I painted the house. But once you do that big task, what is the next step? A lot of people, they also are going to use step 3 as I went to work today. I did something productive. Guess what? Are you being proactive after work? Maybe, maybe not. Most people, once they're productive, they do not become proactive. There is a huge difference, and this article is going to be a must read for you to learn the nuances of being proactive in your life and how it can benefit you to make huge strides and make huge changes for a better you. All in all, we want to learn how to be proactive in our life. Being proactive is going to give us so much more room and so much more flexibility to do the things that we want. Sometimes people might say, oh, there's not enough time in my day. And the reason is because they're giving limits to themselves at some point. There's a very good possibility that your day is full. But for the majority of people, I would say 70+% around there, that their days are truly not full. They have more time to do the things that they can be doing. You might have to sacrifice something, right? You might sacrifice TV or movies or things along those lines. I talked about this story already in the podcast, but when I was done with my master's degree, and I mean, I was going full throttle, like a lot of credits, a lot of classes, working full time in a part-time job, 60+ hours a week, right? And then when I left college and from all that working, I look back and I say, how the heck did I do all that? And it's because I was not only productive, I was being proactive, making sure I was always making the next step possible versus trying to do everything at the last minute or all at once. It just wouldn't work because there was so much that needed to be done. I always had to keep on moving. However, when I was done with college and I didn't have to work part-time and a full-time anymore, I could just focus on my career. Guess what? I started to do all the bad things. I started to watch movies and I started to be on my phone and go on social media. And I'm like, whoa, this is wrong. I started to pay attention. And I said, this is not the life that I want for myself. This is nice that I have more freedom and more time, but I'm still not doing everything that I can be doing in my day. And I'm not saying that I have to go to work 80 hours a week in order to feel that I'm being proactive. I have to give myself the mindset of being proactive, because if I have a choice to go out and hang out with friends or to go work with a partner, like a business partner, build my business, I would rather build my business today. But if you ask me when I was 20, 21, I might probably say that I wanted to go out and hang out with my friends. Something changes. The mindset changes. The responsibility adjusts. And then from there, we realize what we should be doing with the time that we have. Just because something is broken, it doesn't mean we have to wait for it to be fixed. If we have a lifestyle that's chaotic, we shouldn't wait for everything to calm down. We should figure out what need to be met, what can we do right now, and then begin to do that. The way we clean up our life and clean up the systems and the habits that we have lived in or have created for us is we have to start to pick them up and place them where they need to be. Once we have everything in place, we create systems that are going to help us keep them there. And then also we figure out what type of things could happen and what types of things are going to make things better. We're always proactive to a better self. You can make a lot of movement. This is, famous saying. I don't know who really says that. I know Denzel says it a lot. Don't mistake movement for progress. And don't mistake being productive at one point in your day as good enough. Because if you are just productive at one point in your day and you give yourself a sense of satisfaction, like I was productive in my day, I went to the gym, I went to work, I did this stuff. Okay, great, right? You created your day, your daily schedule, your daily habit. Whoop-de-doo. What do you do when you have no energy left in tank? What do you do when you have the option to wait or take action? What do you do with the mindset of production and proactivity? This is going to set you apart, as I said, from everyone else in the world. If you can learn how to be more proactive in your day, to do the things that you need to do versus the things that are going to make you feel comfortable, comfort zone is going to kill your dreams more readily than anyone else in the world ever will. You might have negative people every day telling you that you can't do something. The limits that they'll give you might feel insurmountable, but it is actually you who give yourself the true limits. Society is going to tell you what you can and can't do. But the person who decides to believe that is the person who has relinquished their power. So you have the power to do more in your day. You have the power to elevate yourself. You have the power to make some huge strides in your life. And you have to begin to ask yourself, are you ready to make those changes? And what we do here at Reverend Concepts is we help people with those changes. We help people understand the nuances of life, because life can be intertwined with all the difficulties, all the challenges, all the good things mixed together. And we're trying to figure out how we can only focus on the good. Yet we need to combat everything that we are confronted with a vigor, which is going to help us create a stronger mindset that is going to help us knock over any limiting beliefs, that is going to help us identify moments when we can take action rather than simply wait for the right moment, the right feeling, or maybe even the right mindset. So all in all, we're trying to get the mindset of proactivity to help us elevate our life. As always, my name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.